What's up, investing legends? Today we welcome Ben Reinberg to the program. Ben has overseen billions of commercial real estate transactions in his career and is the CEO of Alliance Consolidated Group, which currently holds over $500 million worth of commercial real estate assets. And in today's video, we dive deep into the hard asset strategies that made Ben who he is today, and how you can deploy the same strategies that he has used to build massive wealth. We kick off the episode by diving into the uncertainty and volatility in today's commercial real estate market. And despite all the uncertainty, despite the negativity in the ecosystem, in the marketplace right now, Ben shows us and tells us exactly how he's taking advantage of the current market conditions to build massive wealth. Later on in the episode, Ben and I explore why it is that so many Americans choose to invest solely in the stock market and completely ignore the hard asset investing strategies that have made so many Americans wealthy. And speaking of hard assets, we spend the last half of this episode diving deep into Ben's book, Hard Assets and Hard Money for Hard Times. I gotta say that a lot of the principles that Ben shares from his book on this episode, I 100% agree with, and I will for sure be adding this book to my shortlist on Audible. I gotta say, it's very rare and refreshing when somebody who is as successful and knowledgeable as Ben is able to articulate things at a level where somebody who is just starting out, if you're listening to this and you're just starting out, you can still comprehend and really get a lot from this episode, despite, Ben's immense stature in this space and in this world of alternative investments. So without further ado, everyone, let's welcome to the program, Ben Reinberg.
Welcome to the Investing Secrets Podcast.
Ben, welcome to the Investing Secrets Podcast.
Well, Danny, thank you so much. What a pleasure to be on your show today, and very grateful to have the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to have you and step inside the vault with you so I learn all your secrets. So Alliance Consolidated Group of Companies, this is your group. You've had over 30 years of commercial real estate experience. What's happened? Because I want to start, I just want to go straight for the jugular and start out with some value for the audience. What's happening right now in the commercial real estate sector, and how are you hedging for all of the, against all the uncertainty and all the volatility that's happening right now?
You know what? It's such a great question. I just did a webinar a few hours ago, and we were talking about the red flags out there that people ignore. And it was really an interesting webinar because we were talking about how this is a real special time in commercial real estate. There's opportunities. Rates are going to drop soon, so it could be an opportunity to sell some stuff. But right now, there's this window where rates haven't dropped yet. Things are a little bit affordable, so to speak. Institutional capital is hanging back because of lack of liquidity and where interest rates are at. And so for companies like us, middle tier companies, it's an exciting opportunity. This is an opportunity where we got to double down and say, all right, I want to buy what I can, and interest rates drop, maybe cap rates drop. I can pick up some value from the acquisitions I did maybe 3-6 months prior to all this happening. So right now it's a good opportunity. I mean, like I said, we're office, industrial, retail. We launched a multifamily division last year. We're seeing a lot of debt. There's trillions of dollars of debt that's coming due. So you have motivated sellers out there, especially because they can't refinance in this market. So cash is king. Investors, it's a really good opportunity to get in. And I feel there's this great window that you can take advantage and do really well in this marketplace. And so I'm bullish on commercial real estate right now because I see that there's opportunity. And when there's opportunity, you got to jump on it. You can't wait. It's not going to wait for you. And so for me, I see a tremendous opportunity right now in commercial real estate because this window is eventually going to shorten. Interest rates are going to come down, more liquidity, more competition, and it will stabilize prices. Right now, you can pick up deals, I feel, at some pretty good prices because of the motivation with all the debt coming due and motivated sellers.
Where are you finding the motivated sellers, right? Because if one of the things that I've experienced, and I'm sure that there are listeners who've experienced this too, where the deals that are being marketed, at least from what I'm seeing, the ones that are on, CoStar, LoopNet, which we all know that's not really, that's where deals go to die. But the sellers there are not being realistic with their pricing, on the whole.
It's a good statement, because if you find someone looking for appraisal or fishing, we always say, look, I'm not going to be your stalking horse. I had this conversation today. We're best and final on multifamily deal. And the broker said to me, he's giving me his typical speech saying, well, we have other parties, Ben, that we're speaking to on this call. Because my director of multifamily is on the phone, okay, on the Zoom call. He doesn't know the game as well as I do. And I said to the broker, young guy, I said, look, I'm not a stalking horse. I don't give appraisals. I said, I am a real buyer with capital to get out on the street. If you want to do a deal, which your seller who's on the Zoom call with us seems to be okay. They just want to know, can we perform? Price isn't even a question. So if you want to bring up price and try to goose, I'm like, we're not your buyer. If you have other buyers, like you just said, then go with them. Yeah. And don't waste our time. But we're not going to negotiate ourselves, and we're not going to be a stalking horse. And so you see this, Danny, this behavior a lot with brokers. And it's because a lot of people live in the past. They don't realize, like, hey, risk has changed. Cap rates have changed. Cost of debt has changed significantly with lenders. There's a lack of liquidity. So if you can get deals done in this environment, that's a special thing to hang your hat on. And we've been able to. So my thought and advice out there, if you're listening and you're trying to do deals, just keep pushing forward. This is a great market to double down on your efforts. Look at deals. In this market, Danny, you're going to have to look at more deals. You're going to have to say, okay, I made 50 calls today. I might have to make 75 calls to find the deals I want. It's how bad you want it. I tell people in this business, okay, because I work on weekends, I work on Saturdays. I'm the only one that shows up in this building. But it's because how bad you want it, how bad you want success, how bad you want to find that next deal. What do you want to do? There is something about the real estate gods, especially in commercial real estate. They reward you for hard work. That next deal comes around. I used to tell people, if you cancel a deal or you can't buy a deal, or you look at a deal, there's environmental issues or whatever might be the issue. There's always the next deal, but you got to keep pushing forward. You got to keep filling that pipeline. You got to keep pushing forward and pull the trigger. And it's something that people rest on their laurels. They get a deal and they get comfortable. Yeah. And I tell my team, never get comfortable, because it doesn't serve you. So at the end of the day is, in order to find deals, these off-market deals or the motivated sellers, you got to roll up your sleeves and you got to put the work in. And it's not for the faint of heart. It's not going to be easy. I've been through a lot of tough markets, and this is a tough market. Okay. We're in a rising interest rate market. We have unreasonable sellers that are being aggressive on their pricing. And you know what? Eventually they come around. Eventually they sit, and then you can transact. So follow up is really important.
Well, and I think the people that maybe put in LOIs year and a half ago, I've heard this story time and time again. Buyer submits an LOI, seller says, go fuck yourself. Yep. And then a year later, not even 6 months later, hey, you remember that offer? Is it still on the table? Yep. Yeah.
And things change, and lease term burns off, and the whole 9 yards. So at the end of the day, you have to be able to tickle things, follow up, and continue to push forward. And it's a challenging business, but if you do the right things, follow up, show up, be present every day, you'll find deals. You will find, I've found plenty of deals. I've been in different environments, rising interest rates, recessions, bad economic downturns, different administrations. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. It's about what's your effort going to be and how you're going to navigate and pivot when things are a little bit challenging. And so that's why I like with my books, Hard Assets and Hard Money for Hard Times, I teach people how to build a hard asset empire, Danny. But I also talk about how to do it during hard times. And part of it is that resilience, that showing up, that mindset of I have to keep going, and not forgetting where you came from, not forgetting what got you there, not resting on one deal, and know that's a marathon business.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. Well, since you brought up the book, I really curious, because when I saw it in the background, I was like, dude, you've got a book? Like, we need to talk about this. So quick spark notes on the book would be awesome, just to kind of hear what
I wanted to write this book because every day of my career in 32 years, I'm asked to look at someone's portfolio, give feedback on investment, or people are asking, how do I get involved with you guys? How do I invest with you guys? How do I get into real estate investing, commercial real estate? And what I learned throughout the years is I quickly learned that people don't understand how to generate wealth. And I met with all my colleagues and we all agreed, and they said, most people don't understand assets, money, or time, and time's your greatest asset. And they're all tools to build wealth, Danny. And so most of all, I looked at our different niches. I said, well, people don't even understand how to invest in medical office, which we're a leader in. And even doctors who I met don't even understand investing in medical office. So I knew I had to take another step further. And I said, well, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book, how to build wealth. I'm going to create a hard asset empire blueprint. Step by step, people can build their own hard asset empire. And I wanted it to be a place where someone can generate, retain, and defend and compound their wealth. I wanted to provide an environment, a blueprint. And so I created a vehicle to help build and create generational wealth for their families. And to make this easy, I felt the Hard Asset Empire Blueprint is the way to go. So you could download it for free from my personal website, benreinberg.com. It's in the book as well. The book is on my website. You can order it. You can order in bulk. People, attorneys and accountants are buying it in bulk to give out to their clients.
Yeah, that's cool.
We have, Amazon and Barnes & Noble online. You can go online. And so, I wanted to create this tool in the book because I wanted to say, you read a book and then a month later, you kind of forget about it. You remember some of the lessons. You're like, that was a great book. And you talk about it with someone, but you're not going to pick it up again. You might in the future. I said, I want a book that's evergreen. I want a book that people are like, let me go back to my blueprint. Let me understand this lesson. Let me understand this again. Oh, you know what? It's changed. So I wrote the book for the Ben Reinberg who started 32 years ago that didn't know shit. Love it. To the billionaire that can use it. So I wanted everyone in the world to be able to use it, no matter where you are in life, because the billionaire will look at it and say, oh, I didn't think about data security. I didn't think about this foundation. Oh, you know what? I'm going to change my succession plan a little bit because it's in the blueprint. It allows you to think. It doesn't matter who you are, how successful you are. I wanted to give you the ability to think. And I wanted this powerful, personalized, and revisable snapshot as your blueprint to be able to remind you that, hey, things can change. Your future generations could build on top of it. You could pass it down. And so it allows for your rock solid foundation. And I wanted to tell people, like, why do your keystones matter? Because you're building a fortress when you build the blueprint. It looks like a castle. And most people invest with a misalignment, focusing on what instead of where. And so I realized this. I went through my career and I said, well, if we could learn to look from a 40,000 foot view and a detailed lens is a skill that requires intentional practice. And by having the intentional practice, it will allow you to have a snapshot. Most people are visual. So I said, the blueprint's visual. So I said, okay, I'm going to give one picture that strengthens every decision you have for short-term and long-term. And so I help identify external forces and regulation markets and banking and taxes and global decisions and how it can impact your planning for wealth. And, sustainability comes from knowing where risk lives, not just where risks are. And so I realized all this. And then I said, okay, so I talk about building your blueprint in your hard asset empire. And what's nice is the book is not about me. It's about you. It's the audience. I didn't have to write the book. It's like, I don't need to spend the time. I did it because I said, no one talks about this stuff. No one gives back. No one really can educate people how to build the hard asset empire. And I said, okay, so we're going to write the book and I'm going to give lessons. I'm going to give war stories. Hey, this deal didn't go so well. This is what I learned. Don't do this. Don't over leverage properties like I did when I was in my 20s, which was foolish. Well, I talk about that. I'm vulnerable because I want people not to go on the same learning curve as me. I want to shorten that window, that learning curve for them. And Danny, what I realized is that at the end of the book, I had to talk about mindset. I had to talk about, you're going to go through all these experiences and how you control your emotions and how you deal with people and all your resources, because you're going to change resources. Your friends are going to change. Your family's going to change. as you build a hard asset empire. And so you're going to have to go through some serious mind work and personal development, practicing gratitude and letting go and removing distractions and energy suckers that we all have in our life, and auditing your inner circle. I call it your green room. Who's in your green room? Who's going to be there? Even if you're wrong. Let's say, Danny, you were absolutely wrong about something. Who would be there for you no matter what, defending you, even though you're wrong? Who would support you? Those are the people you want around you. And then I talk about protecting your mind from harmful conversations and content and being really intentional. And so after I wrote the book, I looked at it and I said, okay, we're teaching people how to do a hard asset empire blueprint. But I think we need to bring the book to life. We need to go a step further. And people are looking at me like, what do you mean? You just wrote the book and it's very deep. I go, we got to go further. And they go, what do you want to do? I go, we're going to develop courses to bring the book to life and make it more actionable. And that way people go learn and grow and develop, and maybe they want to teach it. So we said, okay, course 101 is core foundations. And it's a step-by-step guide to the essential principles of building a hard asset empire and how to build your blueprint, because I wanted to bring the chapters to life to help you personalize your own blueprint so people can really do this and take it seriously. And then I said, okay, well, if you like 101, then you go to 201, incremental growth assets and strategies for stable and scalable growth of your empire. And then I said, okay, well, if you want to go a step further, let's develop a class 301. And I called it legacy and vision planning. And what that is building a long-term legacy and strategic vision as you grow your hard asset empire. And then I said, okay, the last class we'll teach, and this will be for people that maybe want to teach it or want to master it and want to really go to another level. It's called advanced strategies, and it's high-level tactics for maximizing impact. And so people are like, well, why do I take the courses after the book? I'm going to tell you why. I am going to teach you resilient cash flow strategies. I'm going to show you how to invest in stable market opportunities to build your empire. And I'm going to help you personalize and build your hard asset empire blueprint that you can use throughout the test of time. And so that's what the book is. That's what we're doing. Extremely proud of it. It took us about a year to write. And it's an ability for me to see people really live the life they want and create the freedom in their life that they've been asking for.
I love that, man. That's awesome. And, it's interesting because when you talk about hard assets, right, there's a stat that I always come back to time and time again on the show. And that is the average American has over 95% of their investable assets in the stock market. Mm-hmm. And the top 0.1% of the wealthiest Americans have only 30%.
Yes.
And hard assets in a large part of the alternative investment kind of umbrella, which would include hard assets. Mm-hmm. And almost 50% of their portfolio is tied up into the alts umbrella. And so I just find it really interesting that we're sitting here on the show and you're talking about this because it's a consistent message that I've tried to impress upon the audience here. And so, from a hard asset standpoint, what real estate is one of them, but could we what are some other hard assets, quote unquote, that fall under that umbrella or that category?
Let's talk about why hard assets matter so people can understand it. In a world of uncertainty, Danny, economic volatility, inflation, geopolitical instability and unrest, and they make traditional investments riskier than ever. Yeah. And hard assets provide stability, predictability, and long-term wealth. So it could be commercial real estate, it could be real estate, it could be existing companies, it could be artwork, it could be actual precious metals. It could be a lot of things, hard assets. But at the end of the day, like you said, the age of wealth formula throughout history. Okay. And being from Chicago, I saw some of the wealthiest families, especially in commercial real estate. The wealthiest individuals and families have secured their legacies with hard assets like real estate, precious metals, and private lending opportunities. Those are just a few to name a few of hard assets. And so what's the problem today? So I said, okay, Well, I built my career and I've been wildly successful. I said, most people just don't have a roadmap to build an empire of hard assets. No one talks about it. The wealthiest families don't really share what they do. They lack the methodology, strategy, and blueprint, most people out in the public. And I said, well, that's where the book can come in. We can solve that problem. We can allow people to learn how to build a blueprint. And the intrigue behind the blueprint is it's this unique visual framework that simplifies financial concepts that people struggle with. And I do it where it's into actionable steps to build, grow, and protect your wealth. And it's for everyone. It doesn't matter who you are. And, someone said to me the other day, like, okay, well, I'm just getting started in my career. I'm 24 years old, Ben. I have a little bit of disposable income. I'm not going out drinking with my buddies. I take this seriously. I read the book. What do you suggest? And I said, look, take $50 or $100 a month. Invest in something. Pull the trigger. Invest in a hard asset. Okay. Raise money from other people. Go buy a small apartment building if you want to. Just get started. I don't care if you invest in a mutual fund. Whatever it is, just get started and get in that habit of investing your disposable income. Yeah. And they were grateful because I'm trying to empower independence because that's what people want. People want independence, Danny. It's like, but the methodology behind the book and the blueprint is I want people to control their own financial destiny. I don't want to have to them rely on financial advisors. You can become your own financial advisor. So, it's just a crisis-ready strategy. There's personalized roadmap, and they're proven tactics. So if you're looking to make a change and you're listening and you're saying, okay, I want to change. I want to change the trajectory of my life. I want to change the trajectory of future kids or my kids' lives. What do I need to do? That's why you read the book. Because I wrote the book for you. I wrote the book for the young man or woman or someone that was Ben Reinberg 32 years ago and they were lost, didn't have direction. And I felt that if I could do something that someone didn't do for me, I could change someone's life. And I know I have already. And so if you're out there listening and you're like, don't be a victim, take action. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My book is $29.99, whatever it is, pretty cheap. Read it. Learn something from it. And I hope it inspires you. And use the blueprint and start building your own hard asset empire, because the only one that could change your life, just like I did 32 years ago, is you. You're responsible for your life. You have the ability to change your life. Don't play the victim. Play the guy who says, or the woman who says, I'm going to do something to change today. And every day I'm going to keep pushing forward and forward to become the person that I deserve to become. That's why I wrote the book.
Why is it that you believe that the majority of Americans fall into the bucket of either handing over the wheel to a financial advisor that it probably has less money than they do, right? Mm-hmm. Or invest into, primarily stocks, bonds, that sort of thing. Like, what is it that has created that in our society? Why is that?
It's a great question. I think it's a lack of education. I think it's fear. It's not knowing what we don't know. It's leaning into something familiar. And so, I went the opposite way. Like, no one in my family was in real estate. No one taught me real estate. I was an anomaly in my family, but it was something I wanted to do because I saw how the wealthiest families in Chicago were building empires, and that was through hard assets like commercial real estate. Now, there's people out there that are lazy. They're fearful. They're worried about, if I fail, what happens? What happens if that is such a powerful statement, if I fail. And I remember when I was younger, okay, because I didn't come from money, Danny. And I realized, I said, you know what? if Ben Reinberg fails, he'll go back to where he was when he started. And I said, so what do I got to lose? So I did my first deal. But yeah, there was challenges in my first deal. Believe me, I lost 45% of the income in the first week. Scary. But I made a 3x profit 3 years later. Turned it around. So for everyone out there listening, is you can do it. You have to be persistent. You have to control your emotions. You have to understand and become an expert in what you're doing. And at the end of the day, you'll be successful if you hang in there. It's when people quit. That's what I see the issue of. People just give up, Danny, and they're like, it's too hard. It's not, I can't do this. I don't know how people do this. It's just too hard. Yeah, it's hard. It's not for the faint of heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy doing deals. Not easy to capitalize. Not easy to raise money. Not easy to get debt. It's not easy managing them. It's a tough and rumble business, commercial real estate. But you know what? When you do it and you have success, you can realize that, hey, I'm no different than anyone else that's successful. And a lot of it is your mindset. A lot of it is that little voice inside your head that will mess with you and tell you you're not good enough or you can't do it. And the problem is you are good enough to do it. And you know what? The next man or woman next to you, they're no different than you.
Right.
They just maybe had the guts, like Ben Reinberg did, to take that chance, to pull that trigger, to say, what if I could change my life? And that's why the book is special to me, because it's inspiring to me to let people know that, hey, you can do this. I know you need a little guidance. You might not understand it, but it's something that gets you started to pull the trigger.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of resilience that you have to succeed, pretty much in anything, right, is it's an extremely high barrier to entry. Now, if you just want to be, and that's the thing, right? Like, I think what you're alluding to or kind of getting at there, Ben, is that the barrier to entry to invest in the stock market is creating a Robinhood account, or an E-Trade account and pressing a button, right? Very low barrier to entry. I'd also argue that, like, there's with hard assets, pretty much any alternative investment, there's a illiquidity premium, right? Like you're making more money typically, but like you're also illiquid for a certain amount of time. And I think, like, most people just, like, there's a fear of, like, well, if I might need that money later, so, like, I don't want to lock it up for X number of years,
right? And
my counterpoint to that is that anytime you invest, even if it is in the stock market, you should never expect to it should be money that you never expect to see again, period, end of story. That's it, right? It's gone. It's never coming back. As if you swipe the credit card, it's gone, right? That's how you have to approach it in order to, like, develop an appetite for illiquid deals, right? For deals that are illiquid. Because, like, otherwise, yeah, I mean, you're going to be stuck in that, like,
yeah, you have to go in and say, okay, if I lose this money, am I going to be okay? And so that's part of the mindset, is keep pushing forward, create abundance in your life. I talk about that a lot with all my employees throughout the country, is create abundance. Don't live in fear. Keep building and building your pipeline, your resources, etc. And so we talk about that a lot, and that's an important aspect. And so for the people listening out there, if you're younger, is that you just can't stop. It doesn't matter, even if you get success, never stop. Keep pushing forward. Keep being persistent and resilient, because things change. And you know what? It's very competitive out there. You got to keep pushing forward.
Yeah. Could not agree more. And just to put a bow on that part of the conversation, the interesting thing to me about the strategy that you talked about is I see them falling into two buckets. The real estate and some of the other investment vehicles that you're talking about are cash flowing. And then you've got some of these other, like gold and silver, other precious metals that aren't, right? These are more like value retention mechanisms, right? So you're locking in a value at a certain time. Yeah, it could appreciate, but like there's like it holds intrinsic value. The difference is that a lot like stocks and crypto and like all these like those are appreciation plays.
That's right.
Right. And so it's like speculative versus consistency / certainty.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
So it's, I mean, and pretty much every wealthy person that I've ever spoken to values the consistency and the downside protection.
Yes.
So it's an interesting thought, man. Well, listen, Ben, we are out of time here, and it's too bad that we, are out of time. But I'm glad that we were able to get you on the show and have you share some secrets with the audience. But before I let you go, we're going to have you leave your top secret for the audience before before you go. So take it away.
Well, I would say my top secret, if people always ask me like, what would you do if you can go back in your 20s in your career? And my secret to everyone, if you're listening, is work on yourself, get into personal development, manage your emotions, become emotionally intelligent. That will skyrocket your career. That is my secret sauce to success. And that's what I would recommend for everyone is work on yourself, become emotionally intelligent, and do things to take care of your mind. And you'll be wildly successful.
Love it, man. Well, Ben, it was great having you on, and thanks for sharing all those secrets with us.
Thank you, Danny. What a pleasure. Appreciate being here.
All right, man.